Hello and welcome to another episode of Optics Trade Debates. Today we'll be with you, Andras.
Theodore.
So, it is a contemporary trend to mount your rifle scope on the rifle with rail. The older system is with rings. So there are two main categories of how a rifle scope can be mounted on a rifle. Now, Theodore, can every rifle scope be mounted via rail or not?
No, basically, first of all, we are talking about the rail which is on the scope, not on the rifle. The rails on the rifle are a completely different subject. Now we are talking about these rails on the scopes. And if we go back to your question, at the moment only hunting scopes can be ordered with rail mounting solution, so that a rail profile is on their housing. And on top of that, only premium European manufacturers are producing scopes with rail mounting. So if you're looking for a target scope, if you're looking for a tactical scope, if you're looking for a CQB scope or something like that, then you're bound to use rings for mounting. But if you're looking for a premium, high quality European hunting scope from any class, either for stalking, either for driven hunts, wide angle scopes, or long range hunting scopes and so on, if it's made by, let's be correct, in Europe, in Germany or in Austria, it can be ordered with rail. No other scopes can be.
So since the mounting with rail has become so popular lately, there are obviously some advantages of mounting with rail over mounting the classic standard mounting with rings.
Yeah, if we say basically this is the best possible mounting solution, period. If it's possible that you are looking at a scope which offers possibility of rail mounting, go for it. Blaser it's a prime example. They are starting to produce their own scopes, and they will not even offer scopes with ring mounting to the market, only with rail mounting.
So this is the future of rifle
This is the
scopes,
future
probably.
of rifle scopes in a hunting class, and I hope that in the future also for other classes and other categories. What are the prime advantages? One of the advantages is that this mounting solution doesn't affect the looks. So it's much more slimmer design, it's nicer, and even when the scope is mounted, there are no marks on it. So even if you change to swap the scope later, there will be no marks on it. It will be like unused almost. So this is the first advantage. The second advantage is that this mounting is far more robust and reliable than any ring mounting, because the surface, the clamping surface, is much bigger. And even, let's say with Swarovski, with their SR standard, you have recoil stops on the entire length of the rail. So it's more reliable, it's more robust, it's nicer looking. And last but not least, you never have a problem how to level the scope correctly, because with rail mounting there is no possibility to level it. The reticle inside has to be leveled with a rail, and it is always going to be exactly horizontal. So this is the last advantage, but also a crucial one.
Some customers usually have a feeling that if you mount the rifle scopes on the rifle with rings, it is more fixed. Because only
It's not true.
It's because only because of the feeling, right?
It's because of the looks, because you see the ring all around it, but it's the rail mounting is more secure. The problem is, the only problem which rail mounting has is, first of all, that you can only find it on premium, let's say expensive European scopes. And the second problem is that the mounting solutions are a little bit less common and more expensive. In our shop, normally you can get a mounting solution for any type of rifle, for everything with rail, but still on some specific rifles it is easier to mount it with rings. And normally, if you're not buying in our shop, if you're buying anywhere else, the ring mounts are more common. Every gun shop in the world has ring mounts, but only best shops have a wide selection of rail mounts. So this is also, if you're just looking for something common, and if you're looking for some affordable mounting solution, then you go with rings, because you can find rings anywhere and they're cheap.
The rail mounting solution also tends to be a little bit more aesthetic, right?
Yeah,
Hits better on the rifle.
On modern hunting rifles, also made in Europe, on I would say older rifles and so on those where there are not so many mounting options, it can happen that with rail mounting that the scope sits a little bit higher.
Oh, and then it loses the.
But again, if you invest enough money into a proper mounting solution, it will be as low as needed.
Okay, so let's say that you purchase a scope that you're planning to mount with rings. What you have to be careful when purchasing a mount is the tube diameter. So we can see that here we have scopes of with different tube diameter. What are the possible diameters when it comes to rifle scopes?
This is a really interesting question, because lately it became a trend that every producer comes out with their own tube diameter. So in the past it was most common 1 inch tube diameter. In Europe they just mostly rounded it and said this is a 26 millimeters. Even it's not, it's 25.4. But some of the producers even specified in Europe that they are producing scopes with 26 millimeter diameter. Basically all the rings for either 26 or 1 inch, they more or less all go either to 26 millimeter diameter or 1 inch. So I would say it's a lot of confusion here without any real reason behind it. 30 millimeter is, I would say, the gold standard at the moment. The majority of scopes, especially hunting scopes, are made with 30 millimeter tube. Then in the tactical segment, the golden standard is 34 millimeter tube. I would say majority of tactical scopes have this 34 millimeter diameter of the tube. Then there are only a few Leopolds. This Vortex, the older Razor, they have 35 millimeter tube, which is, I would say, at the moment the least common, or one of the least common diameters. Then 36. This was something what only Zeiss and Hensoldt uses. Hensoldt was the first. They produced their tactical scope with a 36 millimeter diameter of the center tube, and then Zeiss followed with their V8. If we know the historical connection between Hensoldt and Zeiss, even though Hensoldt was sold by Zeiss a couple of years ago, they still produce their scopes and so on. This is logical. Again, this is also a tube diameter which is not used almost by no one except Zeiss. The new Blaser scopes will also have 36 millimeter tubes, but they will only be produced with rail mounting. And then we have 40 millimeter tube, which is used by IOR and now also by Swarovski. The new Swarovski DS, the laser range finding rifle scope, also uses 40 millimeter tube. So we have a wide range of different tube diameters, but I would say that 1 inch, 30 millimeter and 34 are the most common ones. 34 for tactical, 30 for hunting, 1 inch for I would say affordable low-end scopes. All others, 35, 36 and 40, are more or less exceptions to the rule.
Moving back to the rail mounting solution.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that when the rail mounting solution came out, so to say, there was only one standard, LM standard, right?
Yeah.
Now, with time, other manufacturers such as Zeiss, Swarovski and Schmidt & Bender have come up with their own versions of the rail. What are the differences, the main differences between these standards?
Well, first of all, I would like to go to the LM standard. In Europe it's called also Prism standard. It's a shame that we don't have an example here. We have more than 2,000 scopes in stock, but no one really produces them with this LM rail. But in the past this was the only rail which was produced. So we will put an image of this rail in this video, so that you clearly see how all European scopes with rail were made. I would say until 10-15 years ago, everything was with this LM rail. There is still a lot of these scopes on the market, used one, and in use today in Europe.
We still sell a lot of mounts for LM rails, right?
Unfortunately, I think at this moment only Schmidt & Bender is still producing, and Cups. They're still producing a couple of models with this old rail standard. Apart from that, this standard is dead. The problem was that when mounting, you needed to make holes through the rail for the mounts, and this is something what needed to be done by a gunsmith and so on. And this is the reason why this rail is not.
So
that
these
popular
new
anymore.
standards are much more innovative as
Yeah.
regards mounting.
They're made like do it yourself. You don't need a gunsmith anymore. You just need a proper mount, and you can use these rails. So I would say the most common one is the Zeiss ZMVM. We have separate video about this rail standard. This rail standard is used also by other manufacturers. As you can see, this is a Leica scope with a Zeiss ZMVM rail. It's also used by Docter, by Meopta, Minox. New Schmidt & Bender scopes are also using it, and I probably even forgot some of them. So this is the most common modern rail standard.
So it's reliable,
Yeah.
effective.
Check the video about it. I show there how the inner parts go in, where the mount clamps this rail, how it works and so on. Then next one, I would say, if we go which are the most common, is the Swarovski SR rail. This is usually called the standard with teeth because of these small recoil stoppers. This standard is used by Swarovski and Kahles. Kahles scopes and Swarovski scopes, they both use this standard. It is a little bit less common than Zeiss, but still a very good one. It works perfectly, and I would say majority of all the Swarovski scopes are sold with this rail system. And then the Schmidt & Bender Convex, this is their standard. I think they are the only producers using it, and I would say more or less they're also producing all of these scopes since 2017, also with the Zeiss rail standard, because there is a little bit less of options of mounting solutions for the convex. I think that mostly only German producers of mounts are producing convex mounting solutions, while all others don't. All others do produce Swarovski and Zeiss standard mounts.
Is this Swarovski standard, because of its teeth, perhaps, does it make the rifle scope more substantial to recoil? Does it?
I would say that the difference is minimal. I haven't seen problems with the Zeiss or convex rail standard, but normally it does help.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's
it does
probably
help.
the main reason why they use the design with teeth. Right?
I think that the main reason was to be different, to have their own solution, because Swarovski wouldn't put something what Zeiss made on their scope.
And their solution does stand out.
Yeah, it does stand out.
Immediately know it's
Yeah.
their standard. Yeah,
But in general, all of these solutions they work great.
a reliable
I wouldn't
manufacturer.
say that one is better than another. They're all really good. And if you have an option to buy a scope with a rail mounting, do it, because it is worth the investment.
What do we mainly recommend? Do we recommend mounting with rail, with rings, and in what kind of situations perhaps the one that
It
better?
depends on the rifle.
Depends
I
on
would
the
say on modern European hunting rifles like Blaser, Sauer, Mauser, Rösler, Heim, and so on, go with rail mounting. If you're using a sport rifle, if you're using a target scope and so on, you don't have any choice. You have to go with the ring mounting. But if you're looking for a premium European hunting scope, I would say the rail mounting is the obvious choice. The only time when you go with rings, also in this category of scopes, is when you have a rifle where it's hard to get rail mounting solution, or it's ridiculously expensive. Because if you have some older rifles which are not in the trend at the moment and so on, then this mounting solution can be a little bit more expensive. But if there is an option to have a rail mounting, go for it. It has so many advantages that we can really recommend it without any second thoughts.
Thank you very much for pointing out the differences between the two different mounting solutions that we know of today. I think we covered the most. If you have any additional questions, leave a comment in the comment section below or send us an email. And if you found the video useful, please be so kind to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Bye.